In 5:15, I'd like to call the Monday, April 13th, Board of Public Works Sewer Utility Commission Board to order. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any changes to the agenda?
There is no changes.
Looking for motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Barrington to adopt the agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public input. Public input, seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Looking for motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second Mr. Barrington to approve the March 2nd Board of Public Works Sewer Utility Commission minutes. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Wastewater treatment plant notes, Ben?
Good afternoon, everyone. So the last month, we've noticed that our coolant in our generator has been shutting off the generator during our weekly exercise. We had Total Energy come and there's a small crack in the radiator. I feel it's probably when the heat exchanger blew off the building during the 2019 straight line winds that we got, because it did crush the enclosure. And so we got a quote to have it fixed at $14,419. I would be using the funds out of our 282 budget. And I found out this week that we won't get that generator or the radiator until the end of May at the earliest. With what happened on Saturday where that squirrel fried himself, the generator did run. It kept running for 2.5 hours. So the level didn't go down. So hopefully we're going to be able to keep an eye on it and keep it topped off. So if anything happens, hopefully the rest of this week goes fine and we don't need the generator. But hopefully at the June meeting, I can say we have a new radiator. As you may or may not know, it's raining all the time and we're getting tons of flow coming into the wastewater plant. We're basically twice the amount that our plant is designed for right now, and it doesn't look like today or tomorrow is going to be much better for us. So we haven't had to bypass, and hopefully we can keep everything as is. We did finally get our drip trap for the flare in. It took us like 4 months to get it from Shandon Jers. The installation will be on Monday. August Winter is going to come and put it in for us. So hopefully we can start accepting high strength waste again. The crew and I and Robert met with Donahue on April 1st. We discussed their plans. So they actually have plans on where the layout of everything's going to be. We do have some questions for them. We will be touching base to say, well, maybe this will be better, or why did you do it this way, so we can wrap our heads around the design. But for the most part, it does look like it's pretty good. One thing that was brought up during the meeting was a lot of your facilities throughout the state and the United States are changing the name of the treatment plant because treatment plant is offensive or something, but people want more like reclamation facility and stuff like that. Does the city want to change the name of the reclamation or the treatment facility to something like that? If so, maybe we can discuss that at a future date, but a lot of places are doing that. It's rebranding. It is what it is, I guess. Me being old school, I don't understand, but and last week, Assembly Bill 131 was signed by the governor. This is regarding PFAS. So we're gonna learn a lot more by the end of the summer as to what these rules and regulations are gonna be, any funding sources that we can get. This would basically help us out for if we had a dryer, to get rid of the sludge and maybe get some funds from the EPA or the DNR. But we'll find out more probably by September. And that's all I've got. You guys have any other questions?
I don't think that that name change would be a big deal. That's,
I don't know. It's
Maybe when we dedicate the new facility.
okay.
all right.
Any other questions for Ben? Seeing none. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. Welcome back.
Oh, thanks.
Go on to
Thanks, Ben.
approve the sanitary cleaning and televising for 2026 to Speedy Clean. Robert?
For this one, it's annual process that we do. Ben selects a section of the city to be cleaned and televised. This is solely mains, nothing to do with any lateral verification or anything like that. Part of the annual budget that gets approved every year. Speedy Clean was the low bid, as they were last year. Does anybody have any questions on the process or what's this for, or any other questions to do with the sanitary cleaning televising?
I mean, they've been around for years, so we got no problems with them.
They were by far a superior company when it came to the 2023 project downtown. They were phenomenal, and they're usually the first to respond when we're in an emergency situation and we need one of those robotic cameras. They're pretty responsive to New London, just the relationship we have. So it's nice to see that they were low bid and they did a really good job last year. So
Any further discussion? If none, I'm looking for motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Barrington, seconded by Mr. Ritchie to improve and recommend, to approve the sanitary cleaning and televising for 2026, the Speedy Clean. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we're looking to approve and recommend an agreement with Outagamie County for cost share on Mill Beacon Street project. Robert?
all right, as I said, in my memo, this agreement is pretty standard that they have with any other municipality. They go in or are involved with projects. They have a standard agreement that they lay out. This is Outagamie County now. Exactly what the share is when any project is done. As you can see, some of the engineering elements on here, we did plug in some of the preliminary numbers, but a lot of the construction part of it, that is placeholders for right now. So you can get an example. They're ballpark figures, and that's based off of some of the preliminary probable cost assumptions that we did on this project. This is more or less put in there so you can see that as far as the elements or each one of those construction elements, that is primarily a 50-50 split. The only thing that is 100% on New London has everything to do with utilities. So anytime there's anything to do with sanitary, any sanitary structures, like when we replace the main, all of that work, being a utility, is the sole responsible of the city of New London. Just like the water elements, when they combine and go out there, New London Utilities would take care of all the water elements being a utility. But as far as curb and gutter, sidewalk, road surface, road base, those are pretty much a 50-50 cost share. Some of the pedestrian ramps, items like that, some of that might fall under that multimodal improvements where the county would share a little more cost, being at 75-25 city. Does anybody have any questions on
How
this?
much are we going to do as far as replacing water mains, et cetera? Have talked to utilities?
Yes, so right now, Beacon Street or Beacon Avenue is, that is all up to date as far as water main and out to the curb stops. They are gonna run new water main starting at Mill and Beacon and run it the entire length of Mill out to where we end, somewhere out towards High Street. And all these tie-ins that we do on all the side streets, they will go outside of end of radius into the side streets. So at a future date, we don't have to come back into this area and disturb any of it and do that tie-in. So at the same time, we're in design, they will be in design. I've had preliminary talks with utilities as far as electric goes too, because some of those utility poles will have to be moved, and we're trying to, they're just getting moved, set back further so we can have those 15-foot radiuses. Some of those are pretty sharp radiuses, and if the poles are sitting that close to the corner, we have problems being ADA compliant with our ramps for the sidewalks.
Those poles should have been moved already. I'm thinking I've seen new poles on Mill Street, half a dozen.
Oh,
Or at least.
I met Andy out there on a few of them that they are doing some work, but it's off of Mill, not the line that runs on Mill right now. The main one we met at is the Mill in Douglas. Guess that carries a lot of major lines, and we're looking at how we can set that back a little bit more so we can get a decent radius and a ped ramp that meets code there. But another big area is right by the Mill and Beacon intersection. They're looking at redesigning that a little better, getting that pole out of the middle if possible, so that that little island doesn't have to be there. It doesn't have to be so big. Semi-traffic can still make that corner, and you have better alignment for pedestrian crossing there, so.
This one right here, Robert?
Yep, that one right there.
Definitely makes sense.
Yeah, that. I thought they did that a year or so ago, maybe that one right in the island there, I thought they did that.
Yeah, we talked if we could decrease the angle of that northbound lane going towards the east and get rid of that island, so it makes us able to push that up towards the north, then they'll be able to place a pole on the south side of that intersection. Have room, and they'll be able to maintain their span that they need. The biggest thing there is there's a lot of communication lines on that pole as well, and they carry to the west, and they are the only line that does that. But being this far ahead of schedule or this far along in this process, knowing that it's a 2-year construction, there might be a possibility that they can get in there maybe even late this year and look at what they need as far as the I don't know if it's ATT or Spectrum on there, but what they need to do to bury it or do what they need to do, because once that pole's moved, they won't be able to cross on that type of angle.
Robert, can you just revisit the anticipated construction schedule for the multi-years? Gently or roughly?
Yeah, roughly right now, and I still need to sit down with Judy on this as well. But the anticipated schedule would be 2027 for all utilities. So sanitary main and laterals, water main, laterals. We are still debating on the storm. At this time, it would be nice to have a utility contractor, if they're in doing these other elements, to do that right away. The problem is we don't know how much disruption there would be in the intersections, which means you would either have to put in a lot of temporary patching or consider doing the other element in 27 and going with a binder coat on the whole thing. So that would involve trying to complete the curb and gutter and the storm aspect of it. The sidewalk portion, any mid-block replacement could wait, but it's either gonna be those two elements and we wait to see what this early in the stage, we know for sure it's gonna be water and sewer for sure in 27. The other elements are on the fence. There's a lot of variables that play into it right now.
You're talking now, you said go out, utility wise, go out to High Street. Are they gonna do the rest of Mill Street from High Street out to 15, which,
Yes, they are.
because that area is really tore up bad, I know.
Yes, and that portion, where our main utility construction ends, from that portion on, the county would, I don't know where the cutoff will be. It'll be somewhere in that area, but they will take that on themselves as far as the replacement of that asphalt portion out to 15. So the main portion we're looking at as far as the 50-50 split is somewhere in the vicinity of High Street to Beacon Avenue and Beacon to D.
We actually go out as far as just past the lumberyard, because that house past the lumberyard, just south of the lumberyard, that's in the city.
Yes, but even though
I know.
some of those elements, as far as there's little sections of curb and gutter along there, some on that east side. Even though there's those elements in place, it doesn't define a full total reconstruct. It's only when it's a total reconstruct, then we have to do the 50-50 split. Because portions of Hortonia are in there and everything.
Yeah.
They're not looking for any 50-50 split on that extended portion to 15, because it's not considered a total reconstruct.
So this section in here is all on the county themselves.
Correct.
We'll just grind it and overlay that.
We'll find out more when we do the borings out there to see what's underneath there. It could be, a pulverize as well and pave. If they're dealing with rubbled up concrete and pavement, more than likely they would pulverize. That way you're not dealing with all that reflectivity coming through.
Makes sense. Any further questions? Seeing none, could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Approve it.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second by Mr. Barrington to approve and recommend agreement with Outagamie County for the cost share on Mill Beacon project. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Let's move on to approve and recommend McMahon proposal for design on the Mill Beacon project.
Okay, for this one, like I said in my memo, it was included in your packets. I had to take this proposal to Outagamie County to have them look it over, being that this portion of it would be at a 50-50 split as well. They looked it over, they approved it on their end. The elements of this would cover the design for the area we were just discussing. There's a lot of work to be done as far as sanitary, so that portion of this proposal, of course, would be 100% on New London. It's pretty much a standard proposal, similar to the ones we've had in the past. Does anybody have any questions on this? Pretty much everything in the design phase that you would need to do this project, leading up to the start of the actual project.
Anybody got any questions?
Not sure if there's lead services out there.
There is 30, or how many did Mike say? There's quite a few lead services out there.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll look for motion.
So,
Second. Motion made by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Ritchie to approve and recommend the McMahon proposal for design on the Mill Beacon project. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Let's move on to approve and recommend the Green Dot Sidewalk project to Jim Fisher in the amount of $44,975.
All right, on this one, over the last 2 years, we've been involved with the Safe Step program, which is the sawing of the trip hazards. And at the same time, they assign areas that need remove and replace areas. So if you remember, towards the end of last year, I put out a packet for bidding, and we only received one bid. And for that amount was, it was 50, I can't remember offhand, it was in the 50s. I added a projected, a whole nother area that I projected as far as approximately 500 square foot more work to be done in the next area that they will be sawing in to add to this bid packet. And as you can see, we came in considerably less, and we actually received 4 bids. Fisher is known in the area. Actually, all these are very qualified construction companies, but Fisher was the low bid. And so I'm recommending that we go with them for this sidewalk project. This project is south of Beacon Street, and I am sticking in between Wyman and Division. Work as far south as we can go. And then once we get out of that area, I'll move either east or west with the next project area. But I'd like to keep things blocked off, keep them close. It gives you a better bid because they're all in one area. So yeah, that's pretty much sums up the Green Dot program. Does anybody have any questions?
So how do you identify which ones need to be, sawed and replaced?
The Safe Step LLC. They come out, they, walk the entire area that I give them for that year. It's off of measurements and how much the surface area they actually have to cut in order to make it ADA compliant. So if it's, let's say, 1 inch and they can saw at a sharper angle and still be compliant, then that's something they would saw. If you're taking more than that and you have to go over a longer area, then it pays to replace that panel because if you're taking a large surface area, sawing it, it weakens the concrete, you know, if you're taking more than that 1.5 inches. They take and mark everything down, they GPS coordinate for us. It's all in a spreadsheet for me. I go right to the website and then that way I can download it, include it in this bid packet. It works really slick and they go out there and they don't put the big X's on the sidewalk because as soon as you do that, people start calling, hey, what's this X on my sidewalk? Up in the top corner, they'll take and with permanent paint, label it, and then each one is identified whether it's gonna be sawn that year or in the R&R program.
The Green Dot is a separate company than the Fisher, right? You have one company identify it, or does Fisher?
The Green Dot is just the program name.
Okay. It's just like a government program that they come and do that.
It's our name for the sidewalk program. Jim Fisher is the company for the remove and replace aspect of the sidewalk program.
So do we pay the Green Dot program? Is that part of the bid?
Safe Step was the
Safe Step was the
company.
sawing company, yes.
They do the inspection work for us.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, when they come in, I tell them that our budget is this amount, and that's usually approved through the capital plan, that $50,000 for the concrete program. So I tell them, okay, I always like to be lenient. I say we're 40, 45 because you never know what the bids are gonna be like for the replace portion of it. And they keep walking and identifying areas until the estimated amount of remove and replace and the estimated amount of sawing equals that in that value area, that 45,000.
Thank you. I was just kind of curious how that all worked.
Yep. It works. I'm glad they're on board. It works. It saves me a ton of time. They probably have 10 questions, 10 or 12 areas. If their inspector has any questions, they'll signify it. So then I get a list. I go out, check out these areas, and then I tell them, no, this one we should saw or this one we should replace. And then that goes right into the spreadsheet. Send it out to bid.
And the program is something that our insurance company likes to, because it's showing that we are being proactive to making sure that trip hazards and sidewalks are, we can't do everything overnight, but it just shows that we are taking efforts to move forward in a risk management sense to keep sidewalks as safe as we can be.
Any other questions? Seeing none, look for a motion. Motion made by Mr. Barrington, second by Mr. Ritchie. To approve and recommend the Green Dot sidewalk project to Jim Fisher in the amount of $44,975. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. One more. Approve and recommend agreement with Robert E. Lee and Associates for the County S landfill monitoring services. Robert?
Okay. Last year when I came to this board, I talked about how much the rates were going up as far as monitoring for the landfill. It was suggested that I should look into going out for an RFP. So what I did is with a lot of help from the DNR. Tracked down all the information I could on the landfill. All the monitoring points or the monitoring well points, all that stuff, so I could put a packet together to go out for an RFP. We only received one other bid on this, or proposal. They have a decent resume. If you look inside your packet, they do take care of quite a few landfills already. I've had a great working relationship with AECom. I'm not downplaying that at all. Matter of fact, they just reached out today because I'm working with them to get a proposal for the environmental monitoring of Mini Park, which we have to do at some point. So AECom's, I can't even remember offhand what they were called before it was AECom, but they started this whole process for New London and has been with us until this point. So I've heard great things about Robert E. Lee and Associates. I think the savings will help us out, and that's why in my memo I recommended that we give them a try and see how it goes. I do not know if it'll affect future proposals that I receive from AECom. They're fairly large. You know, they're pretty much worldwide. I mean, I see some billing information from the Philippines or something. So I've expressed that's my only hang up I have with AECom is you miss that one-on-one relationship throughout the whole process. On-site staff is great, but the billing aspect of it can be a pain, a hassle at times. I think we give Robert E. Lee a shot and see how it goes. They're more than qualified.
Anybody got questions on that?
I always struggle with this one. So is this a dump that the city owns? Or, I mean, what is this exactly?
So back in the,
Go ahead.
back in the day, the city, I didn't read through the very first documentation, but had an agreement to use that site for city trash. On another portion of it, Liberty also had a small area. They used it for trash for, I don't know exactly when it started. But it looked like in the 90s it was closed. Is that correct? If you remember offhand?
It wasn't too long, I don't think we were out there. I think we used it out. That wasn't, didn't they use it like as a pickup point or something for a while? After we closed one of the dumps, I think they had to go out there. And I think for probably 5 to 10 years at the max. I don't think we're out there that long. But since then, we've got to monitor it. I think it was a couple times here, didn't they back off a little bit?
Right. When they initially started it, it was not only the groundwater monitoring, it was also gas, and it was quarterly. And they had to do that. That was till 2010, I believe, is when the final letter went through that they took away the gas monitoring and then moved it to semi-annual inspections of the groundwater monitoring. And that is done in the letter, it specifies March and September. They were having a problem getting all the March ones in because sometimes the weather can be bad in March. So they moved it to more of an April, October timeframe. But being that the city rubbish was hauled out there, and it went through the whole capping process and everything to get it secured, it was found, I seen some, I didn't read through all the letters from the attorneys and all that other stuff and how it all came about that it was on New London, but that's the gist of what I read looking into it.
Is there like a time eventually? We don't have to
Forever.
do this? We have to do it forever.
Forever.
You gotta spend 20 grand a year forever.
It was the old city landfill, the city's responsibility and the
Wow.
city's payment to monitor it so that they know the groundwater is still secure.
I asked that question to the DNR, my contact Jackie there. Said, is there any way you could go to one time a year? And he's like, that's almost unheard of, that it even goes down to that one inspection a year. And as long as that sits there and there's, I believe, 10 of the 17 have some sort of exceedance of one thing or another. Some has benzene, some has VOCs. It's all over the place. I'm not a specialist in that by any means, and that's why we hire somebody. And they hire Pace to do all the analytical work with the testing of it. But I know for sure, as long as there's exceedance, it'll never go away.
Questioned Kent Hager on it about 8 years ago. And he said the same thing. He said forever.
Wow.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to agree.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second Mr. Barrington, to approve and recommend an agreement with Robert E. Lee and Associates for County S landfill monitoring services. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to the director's report, Mr. Gursky.
I have 2 anniversaries, Julie Geeson, custodian, 8 years on April 2nd. And Roman Luki, wastewater operator 2. He will have 3 years of service on April 17th. As I said in my memo, PTS was in town last week. Just to my surprise, when I was looking through my emails, I saw emergency locate come in for up by Oshkosh and Robin Streets. Apparently a resident had low water pressure and they thought it would slowly work its way out or fix itself. So they didn't report it. They had their work done probably August, September of last year. So somebody finally reached out to utilities. They went in, did a home inspection, kind of traced everything back. And when they took off the meter inside the house, on the service end, they still had little water pressure. So it was either at the curb stop or at the corp where it actually attaches to the main. So PTS came in, dug down at the curb stop. Unfortunately, they had low flow there too, so they had to cut out that section of roadway, dig down to the water main, make the correction. Now that resident's up and running good, but we have a patch, but thank God we have only binder there. They will be recutting it before they do the final pave because they have to weave in that fabric and grid with a 3-foot overlap. So I said, for now, just fill it in with all this moisture we're getting. Everything should settle out. Once it settles out, then we don't have to disturb all the way down. We can disturb just the top layer, that foot of base, get the fabric and grid in there and replace it, and then pave in that patch, and then we can surface over it. Hopefully we never see it. Also with all the flooding that we've been having. We are monitoring things as we go. We make sure that our sand bin is full at city garage for all residents to use. We make sure there is always sandbags on the right side of that enclosure there for the sand. It is advised to bring your own shovel. As I noted, every time we put shovels out there, they disappear. So
You can't put good ones out there.
the one I took out of the back of my car when I went past and put in there was one of my worst ones I had. And that still disappeared. So, that's about all I have. Do you have anything to add?
Nope, just for residents to be aware, like our social media post today, we realized or we saw that the national NOAA increased the prediction by the end of this week to hit 10.6 on the gauge. This last time, a week or so ago, we were at 10.28. So 10.6 is going to be even higher than what we just experienced. So residents should be aware of that. And if anybody's in low-lying areas, definitely make preparations. If you need to do that at this point in time, like Robert said, we have sandbags available for free in that capacity. And just in relationship, in 2019, we hit 10.38. So they're expecting 10.6 at the end of this week. So we were expecting to be higher on the gauge than we experienced in 2019. So if anybody remembers that, we're going to be higher than that. This would be, if we do hit the 10.6, this would be number 5 on the highest gauge record for historic crests, according to what we saw. So be aware, help your neighbors out if they need help, but the sandbags are available at the shop if needed.
It might cause, you saw what type of flooding we dealt with down here at Shawano and Wolf River. Add another 4 inches onto that. That intersection's pretty much going to disappear. I don't know, I'm going to be in contact with the county, but with the state project having that shut down, the bypass shut down, I meet with them on Wednesday. I'm going to bring it to their attention, but if there's that much in that intersection, it becomes difficulty making out that pedestrian island, then we might have to look at potentially shutting it down. But that means that a lot of traffic's gonna have to come across Pearl. But that's only if we absolutely have to. It's just mindful if you're going through standing water, just go at a slow roll. Received many calls, as the PD did, about some of these flooded areas and people driving too fast through them and creating a wake. And it does. It's unfortunate for these residents that have their street flooded and see even the slightest ripple. I mean, it's that much more water pushing in towards their residents. So just be mindful of that.
And another good point with that, I remember in 2019, there were a few cars that had difficulty, especially the residents west of the municipal building. There were vehicles that had low clearances having difficulty getting to their homes. So if that is you, make preparation. You might want to get your vehicle away from that area before that area floods. Not that your vehicle is stranded, that you can't get through it to get to work or whatever, but just be aware of if you have a low clearance vehicle, you might have some areas that you might have some difficulty getting through.
That is all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Garski. Future agenda items? I'm sure we're gonna have something on the wastewater plant coming up.
Yes, yep, with everything that we went over, there's still a bunch more to compile, but I'd like to have Mike Gerbitz from Donahue back here to kind of go over everything we went over on the first.
And always, if anybody comes up with an idea, shoot it to me or Robert, and we can get it added to the list.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Next Board of Public Works meeting is May 4th at 5:15. Should all be good with that. Seeing nothing else, look for motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ritchie, second Mr. Barrington for adjournment. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?